Good evening, or morning, or whatever time it is, fellow college football enjoyers, because no matter what your clock says, it's football time. So today, I will visually show you the results of this past week of college football on this map. You may recognize the map from those hour-long NCAA 25 Battle Royale type videos, but that's not what it is. But you're also not too far off. Think of this map as like a cousin to those videos, because the rules are the same, the circumstances are different though. So that's the gist. Now I'll make this quick for everyone who's watched my week 1 video. That gist is that every FBS team has territory. And if or when they lose to another FBS team, they lose all their territory to that team. For example, Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame this past week. Notre Dame beat Texas A&M in week 1. So now, Northern Illinois owns parts of Indiana as well as a part of Texas. And if all of this implication wasn't enough, this map is solely based on the real life results from the prior weeks of college football. So let's get straight into the nitty gritty. And if you're confused, then you'll hopefully learn along the way, or just watch my week 1 video. But for now, sit back and relax while I talk about everything that happened in week 2 of college football. One disclaimer though, I made a mistake. See, in the previous map, I put Jacksonville State in the wrong Jacksonville. I thought it was in the Jacksonville with 1 million people, rather than the one with 20,000 people. So I was sadly mistaken. But don't worry. Their territory, or I should say Coastal Carolina's territory, is now in the right spots. Right there in Alabama. Let's move on to the week 2 results right now. And boy, wasn't this a wild weekend? So let's just talk about every major game. I would say every game, but there's just a lot. Let's start somewhere high up on my list, Colorado. Now this place can be high for several reasons. The altitude, the weed, and the absurd expectations for Colorado's football team. But don't worry, one of those things came crashing down this weekend, as the owner of that middle strip is no longer Colorado, but Nebraska, whose fans came out of that stadium riding high. Well, Colorado's fans were, well, just high. Meanwhile, Air Force was replaced with a different shade of blue, and Texas held its bastion in this state while claiming a significant portion of another state. That's right, Michigan. And well, as a current student here, I should just rip this band-aid off early. And well, at least I got what I wanted last year. And honestly, this could have been much worse. And that's all I have to say about that. Now let's talk about Florida International, who, after losing their territory last week, is now back and better than ever. Because this week, they walloped Central Michigan, regaining land after losing it to Indiana last week. Although, they might not like the weather come November. Speaking of Florida, what happened here? Not much. So I guess we move on to Georgia. And we could see that Georgia Tech, despite claiming a bunch of territory in week 0 and 1, finally lost it all to Syracuse, who took everything. It's easy to see how quickly tides turn on this map. Nobody could tell you that like Nevada, who is the first team to lose everything twice, as they lost their initial territory to SMU in week 0, beat Troy in week 1, and lost to Georgia Southern in week 2. Meanwhile, Georgia Southern lost in week 1 and has now reclaimed some territory once again. Also, isn't it weird to see a cow logo in Alabama? And then we'll just go down the coast to Mississippi, where Arizona State is continuing their strong start. Although, I don't really think Mississippi State had much expectations in the first place. Meanwhile, Tulane failed to pull off the upset, and now Kansas State has an exclave in the Bayou. I wonder if they like Cajun. Oklahoma State now owns 75% of Arkansas as well, but didn't they fight hard to get it after an overtime victory like that? But honestly, Arkansas, you were not the favorites in that game, so I think you have a reason to reserve at least a sliver of hope. If you look, you can also find a sliver of Ole Miss in Tennessee. Just a sliver though. Clemson came roaring back after their week 1 loss. Only time will show how good this team really is. Next is NC State. After their week 1 performance, narrowly defeating a much worse team, they had every right to be afraid of Tennessee, and now they've lost every county they had. And now, let's establish South Carolina's presence, as it seems they're taking every corner of the Southeast, and after that beating of Kentucky, they're another team looking to defy expectations. Virginia Tech has reappeared in Marshall's old territory, Pitt is in Cincinnati, Penn State almost joined Notre Dame in the MAC Losers Club, Missouri now owns the Niagara Falls, Washington took care of business against Eastern Michigan, the Nerds and Duke beat the Nerds in Northwestern, and MSU is now owning land across 5 states after their underdog win against Maryland. And then, they not only got the pleasure of watching Michigan lose, enjoy it while you can, but also had the opportunity to see the downfall of Notre Dame, who is the one team above all else that should hit that panic button. Because just how? If they can't beat Northern Illinois, then what are they going to do against Louisville or USC? This is definitely the biggest upset of the year so far, and it's not really even close. So congrats at Northern Illinois, you did well. Let's move on to the Great Plains, where we can see 2 big events. First, Iowa State now owns all of Iowa after their impressive win. So coloring this state should be significantly easier from now on. And Illinois defeated Kansas, taking their territory, which was yet another outcome that wasn't really expected to happen. By the way, if you subscribe now, then your favorite team's playoff chances will double. Down in Texas, a lot of land shifted hands. First, Texas State gained a lot of power. Then UCF and Utah barged their way into the state as well. And up in Oklahoma, Arkansas State snagged Tulsa. Going over to the southeast, one can see Liberty take half of New Mexico. Oregon State sacked San Diego. USC now has land in Utah. And lastly, the Mormons greatly expanded their domain to include northern Nevada and that small piece of Texas. And for the last game, we could see Oregon take over a significant portion of the Pacific Northwest after their game against Boise State. And although Boise really gave them a go, the Ducks reigned supreme and made the last edition of the Week 2 college football map. But let's look ahead at the future games that will have big implications on this map. First, we have Missouri and Boston College, a ranked matchup with 6 states involved. Next is Arizona and Kansas State, the other ranked matchup that is going to gift the winner with a significant amount of land. Then we have 2 rivalry matchups that for some reason are happening significantly earlier than normal. But no matter what happens this weekend, the states of Washington and Oregon... What? I've been saying it wrong the entire time? Fine. Oregon will be united. Anyway, that does it with this video. If you enjoyed it, then feel free to watch my other stuff, including my Week 1 video, or share your thoughts in the discussion below. Thank you and have a great day.